Rent is due on the 1st of every month, not a day later, and there's no guests allowed. No guests? Not even family members? If you bring anyone over, you keep them in your rooms, and I don't want to hear any noises from you youngsters after 5 p.m. Be careful when you're hauling in the furniture. You'll have to pay even if it's for a single scratch. All right, Mrs. Watson, don't worry about it. Kevin Reed was a freshman at the BII University in LA who had been searching for a place to rent. It was about 2 weeks ago that he happened to pass by this house in Monterey with the room for rent sign perched up on the lawn. The area was quiet, and it was a small travel to the university. There were stores and shops nearby, so Kevin decided to check out the offer. And it was after a thorough background check, 3 months advance, and 1-year lease contract that Kevin was finally able to move in. The house consisted of 3 bedrooms. The landlord was an elderly lady named Alberta Watson who lived on the first floor. And Kevin rented one of the 2 rooms on the second floor. The other room was rented by another guy named Mark. What's up, man? You're new here to California? Yeah, I moved here from Nevada. I'm a student at BII. Oh, cool. We'll see each other around then. I take a few classes there myself. Hey, I was wondering, does the old lady allow friends over, or she's gonna create a scene over it? I've been here a few weeks. She's pretty easygoing for the most part, if you don't mess with her rules. And yeah, she doesn't like other people at the house. I just wanted to bring my girlfriend over, but I don't want things to get embarrassing. Well, as long as you don't make noise, and if you can sneak her in and out, I think you'll be good to go. It's not like the old lady's gonna come up here with that cane to check up on you. Actually, no, she might even do that. Isn't that a bit too much? Where's the privacy, man? Whatever it is, at the end of the day, she's a disabled old lady. The room is cheap and the place is convenient, so I try not to bother her. All she wants is peace and quiet, and her rent on time. Over the first week of living in the house, Kevin had no issues whatsoever apart from the occasional noises downstairs. Which was strange considering how Mrs. Watson was so strict about the slightest noises. Sometimes it sounded like it was coming from the left wall, and sometimes it felt like it was from downstairs. But whatever it was muffled. For the past few nights, Kevin heard them sometimes around midnight, until it faded out some hours later. Mark, did you also hear those sounds last night? Yeah, it happens, but I barely hear them from my room. It's just the plumbing. I think your room is right on top of the boiler room downstairs. The noises bothered Kevin just a bit since he had sleep issues. But he solved it with some earplugs, though they were highly uncomfortable. However, by the 4th night, Kevin was a little aggravated and decided to check the matter out. When he got downstairs, it was quite dark. Just as he turned around the staircase, he thought he saw someone standing there. Is anyone there? Kevin was a bit surprised to see a young woman he didn't recognize. She struggled to put down a heavy box as she locked the door behind her and turned on her small keychain flashlight. You must be the new tenant from upstairs. Or did you come here to rob the house wearing pajamas? Yes. No, I'm not a robber. I rented the room upstairs. I'm Kevin. And you are? I'm Diana. Alberta Watson. She's my grandmother. I come here to check up on her and clean up around the house. I hope I didn't bother you. She doesn't have anyone but me, and I get off of work kind of late. Oh, no, it's alright, I'm fine. Alright then, good night. I have to take this back to the apartment. Seeing Diana struggle with the box, Kevin decided to offer her help. Let me help you with that, he said, picking it up. Wow, that's very kind of you, thank you. Diana hurried to open the door, but as soon as she got inside, she put her fingers on her lips. Shh, Grandma's sleeping. You don't want to wake her up or else, she chuckled, widening her eyes. Kevin followed after her, peeping into Mrs. Watson's room on the way. The sound of the old lady snoring was echoing in the house. Kevin suddenly stepped on a loose floorboard. Shucking to a loud creak. Diana widened her eyes and looked at her grandmother. Oh no.
Diana! What is all the racket about? You youngsters just can't keep it down.
Kevin hurried down the hall, placing the box down, after which Diana escorted him out, both tiptoeing. They burst out laughing when they got outside. "I'll see you around, Kevin. Have a good night." "All right then, good night." After meeting Mrs. Watson's granddaughter, Kevin kind of felt bad for her. Diana seemed like a really nice girl. I mean, she came here after work to take care of that cranky old lady. So Kevin tried not to create any trouble, but it seemed that trouble came its way the next weekend.
"Who's at the door this late? It's 2 p.m. already. What do you want?"
"I was here to meet Kevin Beckham. He lives on the second floor."
"Who are you?"
"Oh, I'm a friend of his."
"Get back and rub your filthy shoes on the mat. Your parents don't buy you better clothing."
"Excuse me?"
"Yeah, you heard me. It's burning my eyes."
"Kim, you came, and Mrs. Watson."
"Surprise, but I think I rang the wrong bell."
"Why? Why did you have to?" "I'm sorry, Mrs. Watson. It won't happen again."
"Yeah, it better not happen again, or I'll charge you a fine. Youngsters these days."
"What's wrong with the old lady?" "Leave her. At least she didn't kick us out and call the police. She's really weird." "Tell me about it." After that little experience, Kim didn't come to the house anymore for obvious reasons. However, Mrs. Watson stayed inside for the most part. The only time she came out was when she collected the mail, because Mark and Kevin were sure not to make any disturbances. It was on the 1st of the next month that Kevin went downstairs to pay the rent. Right on time.
"How many times you people are gonna make me open the door?"
she yelled in that cranky voice. "Mrs. Watson, I've got the rent." Mrs. Watson opened the door a wee bit and peeked outside. Kevin could barely see anything but her eye. Why was this old lady so weird?
"Good. I'll get you your receipt. Stay right here, and don't run off with my money."
With that, Mrs. Watson went back inside. When she was gone, Kevin curiously peeked a glance into her apartment. He spotted some pictures of Mrs. Watson and probably her late husband on the wall. In another picture, Kevin even spotted Diana among the family members. It was a minute into standing there that Kevin started to smell something odd, like something burning. "Mrs. Watson?" When he got no reply, Kevin hesitantly stepped inside, searching for her. As he turned around the hall, he caught a glimpse of something burning on the stove. Out of sheer instinct and goodwill, he went to turn it off. He then stepped out and peered down the hall, looking into one of the rooms. "Mrs. Watson?" he asked before he creaked the door open. Suddenly, Mrs. Watson returned, saying,
"Sorry for the delay. I had to search for the receipt book." "What are you doing in my room?"
"Oh, something was burning. I came to search for you and I thought you were here. I'm really sorry."
"Learn how to mind your business, young man."
"I'm sorry, I was just trying to help out. It could have caught on fire."
"I don't need any help. Take your receipt and get out of here."
Kevin lifted his hands and hurried out the door as Mrs. Watson started swinging her cane around. He literally fled to his room. What did he just see downstairs? Mrs. Watson was a freaking creepy lady. When Kevin stepped into that room, he thought he saw the security footage of every room around the house, even his own. Was she spying on him? Was that even allowed? He searched his room for a hidden camera, but couldn't find anything. Kevin lay in bed, freaked out, feeling like he was being watched. The only thing he could think of doing was making his room pitch dark. After much anxiety, Kevin fell asleep, but soon woke up hearing those noises again. This time, they were quite loud, as if someone was intentionally doing it. Kevin went downstairs when he just barely caught a glimpse of Mrs. Watson going inside her apartment, followed by her cranky voice again.
"Diana, get me my soup!"
Kevin suddenly heard a noise from the room behind the staircase. Assuming it was probably Diana, he followed the noises, opening the door that led to the basement. Maybe he could speak to Diana about the strange issue. She seemed much more reasonable. "Diana, is that you?" As Kevin climbed down the stairs, he started to hear those noises more clearly. It sounded like someone mumbling. Curious as to what it was, Kevin continued downstairs. There was a dim light turned on. Hearing a thud, Kevin turned around, startled and shocked by what he saw. Half of the basement was caged, and inside was Mrs. Watson, chained and locked up. Seeing Kevin, she struggled to call him. "Mrs. Watson? How did this happen to you?" Mrs. Watson suddenly froze. She began shaking her head rapidly, trying to scream out something. "It's all right, Mrs. Watson. I'll get you out of here. Do you know where the keys are?" That's when Kevin realized what Mrs. Watson had been trying to tell him. "I knew you would come crawling down here. Didn't I warn you to mind your own business?" Kevin turned around to see Mrs. Watson standing behind him with a bat. "What? If you're Mrs. Watson, then who's she?" Before he could react, "I have the keys, darling, and I'm only going to use it to lock you inside as well." Kevin fell to the floor. Through his blurry vision, he stared at Mrs. Watson laughing at him. Right before she took off her wig. Diana? Diana Watson was the only granddaughter and remaining family member of Alberta Watson. After her parents passed away, leaving nothing behind, Diana was left on her own. She was working 2 jobs, trying to make ends meet, and of course things were difficult. She wished she could find an easier way, and she only knew one person who could perhaps help her out. That's when Diana traveled to her grandmother Alberta's home. But her grandmother only complained how she didn't have anything saved up, all the money she had went towards her health care, and she couldn't help her. But over the few days that Diana was at her house, she realized her grandmother was in a far better financial position than her, receiving her Social Security benefits every month for her old age and disabilities. If Diana would get paid a check like that, she would never complain. This old lady nagged too much. But there was no way Diana could actually fraud a Social Security check. Or could she? It was since that day that Diana started living a dual life. She kept her grandmother hostage in the basement of her own home and pretended to be Alberta Watson. A white wig, a granny bodysuit, some makeup tutorials, and a bad Batman voice was all she needed. Oh, and who could forget the customized wax granny doll Diana got made? It was the perfect prop to replace Diana while she was out of her disguise. It snored and let out cranky grandma dialogues whenever Diana would press a button on her wireless remote. Diana used her grandmother's Social Security checks herself and rented out the other rooms in the house, from which she got a good amount of money. Now Diana had no worries, at least not until Alberta would be, 90 years old? That would be a good age to fake her death and return to being Diana Watson again. By then, Diana would have collected almost a few $100,000 and yes, be the only inheritor to this property. Diana would then enjoy the house, the money, the luxury, not that she wasn't already, without working a single day in her life. It was the best retirement plan one could think of. All I know is he was telling me he was planning to move, and this morning I found his room empty. He moved out, are you sure? Why isn't he picking up my calls? Well, that's your problem. Don't pull me into all your youngster drama. Let this poor old lady be for once. Ow, my back. Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.